3, 2, 1.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Becky and I do true crime videos. It has been a minute, guys. Thank you so much for your patience, but I do not want to keep you waiting any longer, so we're going to jump right into today's video. Here are the trigger warnings. Please read them carefully as I do not want anybody to be distressed. This case does involve children, so please be warned. My thoughts are with the family, victims, and anyone affected by this case. There will be links in the description if you are affected by anything mentioned. Today's video will be mentioning the disappearance of the Lyon sisters. Catherine Lyon, age 10, and Sheila Lyon, age 12, left their home in Kensington, Maryland on March 25th, 1975. They headed to Wheaton Plaza. It was the first day of their spring break, and Catherine and Sheila wanted to have a little fun with their friends. The shopping mall was only a short distance from their home, and the girls went there to grab lunch with friends and look at the Easter decorations and exhibits. During that time, it was common for children as young as the Lyon sisters to go places unsupervised by an adult. They lived in a safe community where serious crimes rarely happened. The girls were expected to be home at 4 p.m. for their curfew, but they never showed. By 7 p.m., Catherine and Sheila still weren't home, and that's when their parents, John and Mary Lyon, called the authorities to report them missing. Catherine and Sheila's parents were John and Mary Lyon. The girls were born in Kensington, Maryland. Their father, John, was a well-known radio presenter on WMAL radio. Sheila was in 7th grade and Catherine was in 5th. Both were honor roll students. They were just like any other child, who were described as wonderful and liked to save their money in their piggy banks. And they had John Denver and Kenny Loggins posters on their bedroom walls. After the girls were reported missing, a few witnesses came forward and said that they saw the two girls. Catherine and Sheila's 15-year-old brother saw them at the Orange Bowl restaurant having a meal at around 2 p.m. on the afternoon of their disappearance. A friend of the sisters and a neighbor saw them walking along Drum Avenue, the road leading back to their home, at around 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. The police and neighbors searched high and low for these girls. Despite the witness statements, there were no further leads that pointed to what happened to the Lyon sisters, and the case went cold for nearly 40 years. The Lyon sisters' disappearance shattered the sense of security in Kensington, Maryland, rattling parents to the point where they no longer let their children play outside or walk to Wheaton Plaza. To give you an idea of how low crime this area was, Harry Gearing, a retired Montgomery County Police Sergeant who searched the mall and surrounding woods for the sisters, said it actually took a couple of days for it to sink in that the girls may have been abducted. Decades went by and there was still nothing, until cold case detectives began focusing on Lloyd Lee Welch Jr. in 2013, after they noticed a composite sketch that resembled a 1977 mugshot of Welch in a burglary near Wheaton Plaza. The statement was filed away and forgotten about for 40 years, and the detectives had no time to waste as Welch was about to begin the process for parole. Welch was already serving a prison sentence in Delaware for sexually molesting a 10-year-old girl. Furthermore, since the sisters' disappearance between 1973 to 1977, Welch had been charged with rape in 3 different states. When the girls disappeared, Welch was an 18-year-old former worker at a traveling carnival and traveled a lot throughout the States in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. A friend of the girls told police she saw a young man ogling at them and following them around the mall. Based on her description, a detective drew a composite sketch of a young man with long hair and facial scars from acne. The police never released this drawing to the public because they were focused on another sketch based on descriptions from witnesses who said that they saw the sisters talking to an older man who had a microphone and a cassette recorder. After the sketch of the older man was made public, Welch told a security guard at the mall that he had seen the sisters leave with the man. Police interviewed Welch, but released him because they believed that he was trying to get the $9,000 reward that was being offered. When the police chased down the 60-year-old man with the microphone, it led to Raymond Molesky. 2 years later, in 1977, Molesky murdered his son and wife, and he was sentenced to 40 years in prison, and informants turned on him, stating that he had something to do with the Lyon girls' murders. There was never any evidence recovered in this specific case, though he was accused of molesting young children, both male and female, around the area and at Wheaton Plaza. The cold case detectives believed that Welch had witnessed or had a role in the abduction of Catherine and Sheila Lyon with Ray Molesky, as Molesky allegedly recruited young teenage boys to pick up his victims. At the end of Welch's interview in 2013, the police asked him to theorize what he believes Molesky did to the girls, and he said this.
What do you think he did to the girls?
Personally?
Yeah, I'm asking an opinion.
Well, my opinion is that he killed them. He killed them, probably burned them. I don't know.
The detectives were blown away. Burned them? The police said to say burn was very specific. The main issue with Welch is that he is a compulsive liar. In 2014, he then said that Molesky wasn't involved. Welch's credibility was open for questioning. Welch's account of who was involved in Sheila and Catherine's abduction, essay, and murder changed repeatedly during interviews with police over the last several years. Welch's father was an alcoholic, and he was physically and sexually abusive to Welch. Authorities believed that Welch had burned the bodies on a remote mountain in Bedford County in Virginia, where his family had owned land. Sheila and Catherine's body was unfortunately never found. In 1975, a tip was made in Virginia regarding 2 girls in a station wagon with a blanket covering them. The station wagon was believed to be linked to Welch's Uncle Dickie. The family had property on Taylor's Mountain, and this mountain is described as back of the woods. The police described it as a no-go area and hated it. Allegedly, there has been other missing people and bad things that occurred on that mountain. The Welch family says what happens on that mountain stays on that mountain. On top of that mountain, there was around 30 mini gravestones. Welch's cousins, who at separate times and in separate interviews, as the cousins did not get on, told the police that they remember Welch coming to the Virginia property with his girlfriend or wife in 1975, and that the girlfriend was pregnant. Welch was carrying a really packed large green duffel bag, which was said to have easily fit one of the little girls in there. When the duffel bag was open in front of the family members, it smelt very foul. When the cousin asked, "Why are your clothes so bloody?" Welch told some story about how they had bought beef, but it went bad. The duffel bag was then chucked into a massive bonfire. The police felt like this was very credible, as they had already known that Welch's girlfriend was pregnant when the girls disappeared. Furthermore, the police were shocked that the cousins both mentioned this story. To further back up this story, neighbors who lived on Taylor's Mountain recall the 1975 fire, as they said it lasted for days. They also said that it smelt foul and of flesh. They recalled how it smelt like someone had burned themselves. The accounts of neighbors led the investigators recalling Welch Jr.'s first interrogation, where he spoke about the theory that the sisters were burned.
Killed them. You raped them, you killed them, you probably burned them, I don't know.
While searching through the mountain, the investigators had discovered a possible burn site. They found wire that could have been from Sheila's wired frame glasses and a beaded bracelet that could have been from Catherine. Lastly, they found human bone fragments. Unfortunately, though, the bones were so degraded that it was not possible to get any DNA, making the evidence void. They had also found a tooth. However, the authorities lost that piece of evidence. Welch kept mentioning about a basement in his interviews. Welch said that his uncle Dickie kept the girls in his basement, in a back room. However, Detective Dave Davies found out that the basement wasn't at Uncle Dickie's house. It was actually at Welch's father's home. When the detective went there, the basement was eerily similar to all of the stories that Welch had recounted. Upon returning with the forensics team, they started to spray the area with a blood detection agency. The floors and outer walls of the basement showed nothing, but the back room in the basement lit up from the floor all the way to the ceiling, indicating that someone or something had been killed in that room. Due to this find, the case against Welch Jr. was solid enough to charge him with the crime. Welch was sentenced to 48 years in prison. The first-degree felony murder charge carried the possibility of a death sentence. However, he pleaded guilty to avoid the death penalty. This was allegedly one of the oldest bodiless cases that resulted in a conviction. 10 women had came forward to testify that they too had been kidnapped by Welch. Their testimony, though, would only be heard by the court. Despite the guilty plea, Welch's attorney says that he insists that Welch did not sexually assault or kill the girls. Under his plea agreement with the prosecutors, Welch admitted that he did participate in the abduction of the girls, but continued to deny that he participated in their sexual assaults or in their killings. Welch claimed that his father and uncle sexually assaulted the girls and killed them before burning their bodies. Detectives had no way of confirming Welch's claims, as his father had already passed away and there was no evidence found to charge his uncle. In 2017, Lloyd Lee Welch Jr., who was then 60 years old, pleaded guilty to the murder of 10-year-old Catherine Lyon and 12-year-old Sheila Lyon. John Lyon thanked the detectives once the trial had finished and remarked how the detectives treated Sheila and Catherine like their own sisters and daughters and would be forever grateful. John Lyon is now a victims advocate in Montgomery County, counseling other families who have suffered tragedy and loss. Before I end this video, I would really like to point you in the direction of watching the documentary of who killed the Lyon Sisters. Massive shout out to everybody who's involved in making this documentary, as it's very well produced. It allowed me to create this YouTube video as this was the source of most of my information. It's really shocking watching this case come together, especially through Welch's lies. I really recommend it, and you can get it on Amazon. That is the end of today's video. My heart is honestly with Sheila, Catherine, and their family. I cannot imagine the pain that they went through for almost 40 years. I hope everybody is staying happy, safe, and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!